All righty, good Wednesday to you. I'm Fox 35 Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Jamie King, joined by Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist Allison Gargaro. And what a morning it has been. Covering Nicole.
That's exactly right. The latest advisory just came out at 10 o'clock this morning. This is on Wednesday, still looking at 70-mile-per-hour sustained winds. So Nicole is still a tropical storm, but forecast to become a Category 1 hurricane as it makes its way over the Bahamas.
Now, it looks like down in the southern envelope here of the cone of uncertainty, we got Palm Beach County. On the northern edge here, it looks like we're back in toward Melbourne and Palm Bay. So it has shifted around a little. And really, Allison, we expect that. Still over 200 miles away, so there's going to be some fluctuation in the cone. That's
exactly right, and you can see by the time it does make its way over land, starting to decrease in intensity just a bit as we head throughout 7 a.m. on Thursday. Sustained winds still at 65 miles per hour, but then continuing to decrease as it makes its way potentially over the Gulf of Mexico, if not the Big Bend region of Florida, and then moving off to the north.
And it's important to recognize, friends, that, and Allison and I were just talking about this, even if you're not in the cone, you are going to sustain impacts, wind and rain from Nicole. This thing is massive.
It is massive. The wind field is almost 700 miles wide. So if you can imagine Detroit to Boston, that's how far the wind field is. So even if you're not in that cone of uncertainty, likely going to be, if not feeling the wind gusts already, seeing them within the next several hours.
Now, this just came in, our alert here at the Storm Center. Time now is a little after 10 a.m. here on this Wednesday morning. We have an active storm surge warning, and Allison, upwards of 5 feet for this surging going on in all of our area beachfront counties and communities.
Yeah, and we've been tracking it along our east coast for the last day, but that has now been extended to the west in the Gulf of Mexico. And as you can see, a current look at our Hard Rock Hotel Daytona beach cam. Wow. Take a look at that.
Yeah, these are the high tides we're going to be watching. We had one this morning, Allison, as we know, at 8:13. Another one this evening at 8:30. Tomorrow, again, we'll advance it up about an hour or so you can see here that we are still under the gun. There's been people stacking on the seawall all morning long. They'll flee once rain begins, and they come right on back out. But our advice to you is just stay the heck away from the beaches today. It's not the place to be. No. Storm surge warning, and we've seen numerous images of coastal flooding as well.
And that's only going to continue. Beach erosion, that's going to be the big story. And like we said, we're still several miles out from Nicole even making landfall along our east coast, and we're already seeing some of those impacts. So high tides to watch out for in Brevard County. One happening this morning, one tonight just before 8 p.m. and then in the 8:30 half hour tomorrow morning, as well as in the evening.
And we will be in the full throes of these impacts during that time. We'll be here tracking, so you know. So if you're local, certainly tune in. Check us out here on Good Day Orlando tomorrow morning. Join Brooks Garner and company this afternoon. Fox 35 News at 5 will begin probably going what we call wall to wall later this evening and just take you all the way through Good Day Orlando. So continuous coverage as you've seen, but we're going to ramp up that coverage here later tonight. Now, Allison, we continue with warnings. There are no more watches. These are full-on warnings. So explain to our viewers what happened. We came in this morning. Some of the northern counties are still under a watch. Now it's full-scale warnings northbound.
That's exactly right, because all of the computer models, we call them the spaghetti plots, you've probably seen them online, were spraying out, meaning they weren't in agreement on exactly where this was heading. But with the last several model runs, they're starting to skinny up. So they are thinking that we're going to be seeing some impacts from not only rain, but also some very strong winds up through the Big Bend region. We're looking at Gainesville. That does include Cedar Key, Ocala. So that was new to us this morning. And as you can see, here are the spaghetti plot models. It looks like one outlier has it moving a little bit closer to Volusia and Seminole counties, but most of them are very tightly compact here.
Yep, and that really just gets real solid right there. And you don't see, Allison, much flaring or deviation here in either direction. So I believe that's why the Hurricane Center had, with the 10 a.m. cone, has issued it the way it looks now. So we'll see if there's any fluctuation through the day today. But one thing you did a great job in pointing out was the distance from the Florida Peninsula out to that center. A very broad storm. This isn't one of those compact deals. It's real big and bad.
Yeah, it doesn't look too impressive on satellite. At least the center used to seeing that well-defined eye wall, and that's not the case right now. But you can see just how far the impacts are spreading out to the east, the north, the west, across the Florida Peninsula. So maybe you live in Orlando, you have family, friends here, and they're saying, hey, it's been raining and already some gusty winds, and that's all because Nicole is starting to approach the east coast of Florida.
And these winds, oh my goodness. So the Fox model showing this Wednesday evening, 6 o'clock, Allison. These are are the sustained winds, and the numbers just increasing as that northern side of that storm continues working in, heading westbound, closer to the peninsula. The numbers are impressive as they start stacking up. Again, sustained winds right here.
We're just shy of 50 miles per hour down in Melbourne, and as the center of circulation continues to make its way across the interior, you can see those numbers really bumping up across the interior. We're talking Orange, Lake, Seminole, as well as Sumter counties there.
And that track again taking this out into the eastern Gulf. So we'll be on guard. We're going to be here obviously around the clock for you. But for those of you that do live in the northwestern counties, South Levy here, Allison, Cedar Key, sustained at 43. So the gusts likely will be obviously coming in higher than that. And hopefully we start seeing things easing here locally on the east portion of the peninsula into Thursday afternoon by 2 o'clock. Our confidence is high here in the storm center that we'll start to see those winds coming down by that time.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we've been tracking for you all morning long, that our eastern viewing area, so Brevard and Osceola County, is going to be getting the impacts first, but they'll also be seeing that move away first as well as this storm moves off to the north and west. But we do want to show you our Fox model futurecast gusts, and they are going to be very, very high as that center of circulation moves closer and closer to southern Brevard County. Gusts at 55 miles per hour by 8 o'clock tonight, but as we continue through the overnight hours on Thursday, they could be more than 70 miles per hour at times, if not higher.
There's a look at that for you now. You see those 50s slowly starting to sink in here as we get to 1 a.m. on Thursday. So it looks now, from what we have discussed and what we've noticed here in the Storm Center and tracking, Nicole, there may be a strike in that area in the southeast peninsula, either very late tonight or very, very early tomorrow. Looks like maybe between 1 and 3 a.m. possibly, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's
so
exactly right.
These wind gusts, again, will be responding to that. They're 72 in the Thursday morning. They're at 5 a.m. And Allison, I mean, we're getting well into tropical storm force, metro, all the way up to Gainesville and Ocala, Leesburg. So
all the way up.
It's incredible, just incredible. Big, broad circulation. The rain will be hammering on down. We'll have the rain bands coming on through. And then, you know, as this moves out into the Gulf, we'll slowly see things ease up. Still locally what I call breezy to windy as we get to Friday morning, but overall conditions should be improving by that time.
That's exactly right. So our Fox model has been doing such a great job at the winds, also the rainfall totals that we could be seeing anywhere from 3 to 6 inches possible. But Jamie, something else that's interesting, as that center of circulation moves on shore, some of those outer rain bands could be twisting, meaning we have an isolated risk for some tornadic activity, mainly starting this evening, continuing through the overnight hours. You can see some of those rain bands already starting to move in, and the reds, oranges, and yellows meaning a higher risk for some of that rotation.
A lot of people don't realize that. If you're new to Florida, maybe you're joining us from elsewhere across the globe, you never know. These systems spinning around counterclockwise, and sometimes these rain bands will inherit that spin. So we'll be tracking, monitoring for the potential for a few isolated tornadoes. All right, I think everyone is caught up, well versed on what is going to play out here. We're going to be here tracking, advising, and we want all you to stick with us here in the Fox 35 Storm Center.
That's exactly right. You can depend on the Fox 35 Storm Team.